Hey guys, welcome back to my second video. In the first video we discussed variables, we discussed functions and data types, and we discussed conditional statements. And in this video we will discuss arrays and we will discuss loops, which I forgot to explain in the first video. So I'm going to explain these concepts in this video. And we will start from the arrays. So go ahead and open up your favorite IDE. In this case, I'm going to assume you're using Flash CC or Flash Professional. Just open up your Flash Professional and create a new ActionScript 3 document, and then go ahead and open the Actions panel. So to explain the arrays, basically, we can arrays are variables. An array is a data type of variables, but arrays are capable of doing much more. Arrays basically hold other variables. They hold values, not just one value, but multiple values. You can hold as many values as you want. You can create a collection of values. That's really the main purpose of arrays, to create a collection of variables or values in a single place, and then use them however you want. For example, you can create an array. To create an array, we create a variable, just like a normal variable. We use the keyword var and to create a variable, and then we name the variable. In this case, let's just call it my array. And then for the data type, we call it array. This is the data type. And after the equal sign, we create two square brackets, and in those square brackets we put in the values. The value can be of any data type. It can be a simple number, just like this, or it can be a string, just like this, or it can be any other value. It can be a Boolean value as well. And it can you can put in other variables as well. So if you have created variables, let's say you have created a variable my num of a data type number, you can simply add my num here. If you want to add the value of this variable, you can say my num. Now if you want to access these values from this array, we use indexes, the index number. Index number, or an index, is basically the position of an element in this array or in any array. And indexes always start from 0. In an array, the index starts from 0 and then it goes on. So for this array, this 5 is at index 0, 6 is at index 1, my num is at index 2, and then this is at index 3, and then it goes on. So we have like 4 elements in this array. So to access this, we can use index, just like I said. So let's say we want to access the value 6. To trace the value 6, we would say my array. After typing the name of the array, then in square brackets we type the index number. In this case, 6 is at the index 1, 5 is at 0, and 6 is at 1. So type in the index number, which is 1, and now if we run this video by pressing Ctrl Enter or Command Enter on the Mac, depends on the operating system you're using, we should see the value 6, or the value at that index number. And if we were to say replace this value with the index number of this string, which is 3, it should print that string. And that is how arrays works. There are a couple of other techniques that you can use to manipulate arrays. For example, you can actually go ahead and add more numbers. You could say my array dot push. Push basically adds more elements. To add more elements, you can use the push function. You can the number that you push here will be added at the end of the array. So if there are 4 indexes, just like my array, this will be added at 5th index, right after this string function. So now if you trace let's trace the length of this array by saying my array dot length, and then trace my array dot length. Length basically tells you the length of an array, or number of elements in an array. So right here it should print out 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and here after pushing 5 at the end of this array, the length increases by 1. So after this it should print out 5. And that is how this works. You could also check this by tracing these arrays like this. If you simply trace the array, it will print out all of the array, all the values. You see in the first run there was no 5, and in the second run there is 5 as well in this video. So push function was working, and that is how push function works. If we want to delete a value, we could use split. For example, we could say my array dot split parameters 5 trace my array. I don't know how that works. Yes, exactly, that's how it works. So the split function basically accepts the index number. Whatever you type here, the element at that index will be removed from the array. And that is really pretty much what you need to know about the arrays at this point. We will discuss more about the arrays in the future when we encounter problems, when we are making other applications and stuff like that. But for now, I think this is enough for you to know. Now let's talk about loops. And loops and arrays really work together a lot, so it's actually better to understand these together. You know how arrays work. Now to understand loops, arrays can help a lot. And what are loops? Loops are pretty much like functions in a way that they help you save time. They help you stay away from repetitions in the code. So when you have code that you have to write over and over again, when you have things that you have to do over and over again, the loops can actually help you save time in those situations. There are many types of loops. There are this for loop, there is while loop, there is for each loop, but mostly for loop is used. I don't really ever use any other loop. So we will discuss only for loop in this video, but we will see if we can discuss the loops just to give you the concept of how they work and what they are. It's better to have a knowledge of the things you might use. You might need them in the future in your projects. So let's start with the for loops. A loop basically has cycles. All right. So let me demonstrate a really simple example. To create a for loop, we use the keyword for, and then in brackets there are 3 parameters. And the first parameter is the initial condition of the loop. Any loop has an initial condition and an ending, a last condition. A loop that starts from, and then the condition that loops ends at. So for an initial condition, we will create a variable I of type integer, and then give it a value 0. So this loop will start from 0, and then how far the loop will go, how many times the loop will run, depends on this second parameter. We'll say as long as this I is less than 5. So if I is starting from 0, and then as long as I is less than 5, at the end of each loop we will increment I by 1 by saying I++. So every time the loop ends, one cycle ends, the I will be incremented by 1, and then this condition will be 1, right? So it starts from 0, it checks if the I is less than 5, less than or equal to 5, let's say this. So it will start from 0, when first cycle completes, I will become 1. In the second cycle, it will become 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5. 5 will be equal to 5, so this loop will break and it will not run. You can trace something here, trace anything. You can trace the value of I. It's better for explanation. Now if you run this, it should start from printing I from 0 to 5, and then it will not trace anything. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So technically the loop ran 5 times. This code that you put in this loop, it ran 5 times. Now when I said loops work better with arrays, let me demonstrate that. You can trace out the value of this array, each index. You can say my array, and then in the index you can say I, and wrap it up in this trace function. So it will actually trace the value of the variable or the element that is in the current index of the I. I starts from 0 and ends at 5, and we have 5 indexes in this array. Basically 4 indexes in this array, because we are splicing this from the array. We are removing this from the array. So at last index it should give an error, or it shouldn't print anything. This is undefined. The 2 places are undefined. It will simply say undefined. So first it is 5, and then 6, then 10, and then Danish. And that's how it's working. Right, 5, 6, 10, Danish. Let's remove this splice and see how it works now. It's working as expected. It's tracing out the values from the array. And really that is the basic concept about loops. Loops can go complicated as you want them to be, and as simple as you want them to be. It basically just depends on your needs, but for introduction I think this is enough. And there is another thing called nested loops, loops inside loops, that get really complicated. We will discuss those in the future videos as we need them, but there's no need to discuss them right here. This is what you need to know. This is what you should know at this point. And I think that's enough. So I'm gonna end this video right here, and see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.